Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Miscellaneous Candor, frank, honest, and otherwise unspoken. If you really want to hear somebody who's frank, honest, and otherwise unspoken, tune into this episode with our guest, Nicole. She definitely doesn't hold back. All right, let's get started. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Miscellaneous Candor, frank, honest, and otherwise unspoken. Today we have Nikki, also known as Nicole, joining us for a conversation today. And to say that Nikki is frank, honest, and otherwise unspoken is an understatement. This is going to be a great episode, guys. Looking forward to it. All right. So, Nikki, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. So excited to be here.
I am really excited. As you know, on this podcast, we keep the subjects the same, but we always have a new guest. So, or we bring people back. It all depends. Anyway, so we're going to start as we always do with our podcast reviews. I know I've seen some, or listened to and seen some good podcasts this week. So, what do you think of podcasts, Nikki?
Honestly, I don't do podcasts. I don't do podcasts. I find them quite annoying. So I don't do podcasts, which is very funny and interesting. So this past week at work, we got into a conversation about podcasts because I was saying
Mm-hmm.
that on my commute in, I listen to Audible. I listen to books on Audible, right?
Okay. Okay.
And my coworker was like, "Yeah, no, I listen to podcasts." And he also proceeded to tell us about a podcast that he listens to every day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he was saying it's great for him because while the guys are like annoying and obnoxious and actually really loud,
Uh-huh.
every single day they cover three bits of business
Mm-hmm.
and like things that are happening in the world. So he finds it informative, even though he's like, they need to tone it down.
Did he
Me
give you the
on
name of the podcast? Do you
he
remember?
I don't remember. It was like the best something. I forget what it was.
Okay. Okay.
And
All
here's
right.
the thing, he said it like three or four times, and other people asked him, "Oh, what was the name of that?" And I
Mm-hmm.
put it out of my head because I don't do podcasts. And so then this other coworker asked me why I don't do podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to tell her, I've tried listening to them, but I really find them to basically just be talk radio. And I can't stand talk radio. And of course, she's like, I love talk radio. That's why I love podcasts. And then she's like, am I aging myself? And I was like, no, because you're still younger than me. Um, but it's talk radio. And every time, like, I'm in a car with somebody and they're like, oh, we're driving a distance, let's listen to a podcast. Fall asleep. I fall asleep every time.
Really? So you won't tell them when you're in the car that you can't stand podcasts. You just say okay and then take a nap.
So if they are driving,
Yes.
I will not say anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even that I'm intentionally taking a nap. The podcast is just putting me to sleep. Um, if I am driving, I very specifically tell them it's not an option. It's not an option. We can listen to a book. We can listen to any music station that you want to that is playing actual music, not talk
Uh-huh.
radio. Um, we can have a conversation, but we are not listening to podcasts.
Okay, so tell me, I want to double click on this a little bit, Nikki. You said you don't like talk radio. Why don't you like talk radio? And second, you listen to Audible, which also too is talking. So explain the difference to me and to our audience.
So let me start with Audible. So books, right? Books that are being read to me, essentially. Um, when I am listening to a book, and I'm not going to say that every narrator is great because not everyone who's reading has a great voice, but they're hired to do it, so they do it. But every time I'm listening to a book, I'm also visualizing what is happening in that story.
Okay.
If it's an autobiography, I am visualizing what that person has told us about their life.
Okay.
So for me, there's the creative aspect to it. Whereas with a podcast, I'm just listening to two people have a conversation. Maybe four people, maybe six people, however many people have a conversation. I don't need to listen to somebody else's conversation. And a lot of people have really boring conversations. And so, yeah, I get bored by it. Um, and this is so it's also funny in this regards because when I'm on social media,
Yes.
there are certain like reels that are put out from different podcasts.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And when it comes to those reels, I'm like, yep, I can watch this. I'm good. Um, but it's a snippet,
Mm-hmm.
and it's normally a snippet of something that's very entertaining. And
I
mind you,
see.
these are also the podcasts that are video cast. They're
Okay. So
not
I was
just
going to
the,
ask you about that. You're okay with the video cast podcast, but it's just the audio ones that you find annoying.
so yes and no. Yes and no. I will not watch a full video podcast in its entirety. I will watch snippets of it. Um,
Okay.
I while I do have the time and my attention span can actually engage it in its entirety, I don't find them to be fully entertaining to want and sit and watch it in its entirety.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Would you watch an Audible in video form?
Well, that's a movie. So, yes.
What if it's
Yes.
just somebody reading the book, though?
If I had to sit and watch someone reading a book, no.
Okay. Okay.
No, not at all.
Okay. 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 All right. Well, I will say this. I really do appreciate you coming on this podcast, considering your feelings about podcasts. So thank
Right?
you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to say, just from my perspective, I actually listened to Joe Rogan this week. I don't know if you know who Joe Rogan is. Do you know who Joe Rogan is?
I do.
Okay,
Yes.
so Joe Rogan Experience. I've listened to his podcast before, particularly because I was listening to, I actually discovered him. It was a while back when he had this guy on there named David Goggins. Do you know who David Goggins is?
I do. And I have listened on Audible to his books where he
Mhm.
actually reads his own books for Audible. Yes, I know who David Goggins is.
Yeah, so I mean, I love David Goggins. I mean, he cusses a lot.
Yes,
But to
he
say
does.
that he also too, now that is someone who is frank, honest, and otherwise unspoken, to say the least, about getting your health and your body and your life in order from a exercise perspective. I mean, he is just so hardcore. Love his story, love how he tells his story, love the way that he does try to inspire people. Although I will say that not everyone can handle him because of his approach.
And I completely agree. And he is one of the people who I follow on social media as well.
Hmm.
After reading his first book or listening to his first book, or reading his first book. And it's always interesting to me to see some of his content that comes about
Hmm.
because, like, recently he issued a challenge
Hmm. What
to
was the
come
challenge?
to come work out with him and do
Oh my
his workout
goodness.
because apparently a lot of people, a lot of haters,
Hmm.
really they come at him and say that this isn't what he does and that he's fake and that the workouts that he's doing aren't real and that's why he's only showing a snippet and that any of them can hang with whatever workout he's doing and so forth. So he issued a challenge to invite people
Wow.
to come and work out with him and doing
Really?
it sort of like, yeah, and doing it sort of like boot camp style.
Uh-huh.
And people who work out, who actually do work out with him, are like, I work out with him on a regular basis and I can't hang with him. So I'm really interested to see
Mm-hmm.
what the results are and what people start saying who, if they actually take him up on the challenge, because
Yes.
they're haters and haters are going to be like, I'll get there and whatever case may be, but then they won't even show up. They're not going to show up. So I
Yes.
love to see
Yes.
who actually shows up and is like, okay, I was wrong. I'm going to give this man his respect.
I know, but you're right. I mean, haters are our motivators because they just hate and then disappear, right?
Yes.
Usually they never actually meet up to the challenge. But I must have lost him in my feed because of the algorithm. You know how that goes. That's a whole nother conversation. We'll get to that soon enough. But I'll have to go and check that out. However, I do want to say the podcast that I was listening to, the Joe
Hmm.
Rogan Experience, this week he had on there Louis Elizondo, who's the former head of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program,
Mm.
which investigated UFOs that are first. I didn't know that they have a new name. So the new name is Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena. He's a veteran of the Army. He worked in counterintelligence and counterterrorism. So I haven't gotten through the whole one. I did listen to some other podcasts, but they're my normal ones that I actually mentioned here on the show before. But there was another one that I haven't mentioned, but we'll talk about that another time.
Okay.
But it's
Tell me that.
so interesting. It's
Wait,
so
tell,
interesting.
tell me his new title again.
No, he's the former head of the
Yes.
Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. But the new name for UFOs are Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, UAP.
So we're not calling them UFOs anymore?
No, I know that stuck out to me too. They're called
Okay.
UAPs now. And the other thing is, oh my God, okay, Nikki, girl. So evidently, they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of pictures of these things. Like this is for real, a real thing. And the United States is a country that kind of has downplayed it so much that even
Hmm.
conversations about it, people say, oh, it's crazy. That's not really real. That's Star Wars or Star Trek, whatever, right? But other countries are not like that. They actually have like open and honest conversations in their culture. It's just accepted that this is a real thing that's happening. So it's changing because evidently they've seen so many, and it's not obviously there hasn't been an attack per se, but whatever these UAPs are, there's so many of them and so many types of encounters that they have on video, like 4K type video encounters that you can see and you understand that it's literally not built like anything that's built on this planet.
Mm.
And so it's out there. So anyway, I was just loving this. I'm going to finish it. I do. I mean, I am a person, you know this. I'm open to listening to all sides. So I can get down with Joe Rogan. I can hear what he's saying. I can talk. I mean, I can listen to that. That's fine. Um, I know other people are like, I don't listen to him. He's this, he's that. But I don't roll like that. Anyway, this episode and what he says is so good. I know that you don't listen to podcasts, so I won't send it to you, but there is a transcript. So if you want to read the transcript, I can send you that.
Um, no, I don't want to read.
Okay.
So let me show
I
you.
tried. I
So
tried.
here's the thing. I'm in my head. I'm like, I'm listening to you, but I'm also really disappointed that
That what?
UFOs are now being called UAPs. Like, why are you trying to fix something that's not broke? Why are we trying to fix something that's not broke? That's like
Okay.
this past week, a friend of mine sent me a text and was like, they put tomatoes and onions, like red onions, in my Caesar salad. And I was like, that makes no sense. And I had told her that just the week before, somebody put tomatoes in my Caesar salad. Like, why are you trying to fix what isn't broke? UFOs are UFOs. But I also do believe in them, and I'm glad that other countries aren't as restrictive as the US is, but we know how our government is, and you know,
Yeah, that's a
that's
whole
a
nother
whole
conversation.
nother podcast session.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is for sure. Okay, so because we were talking about the algorithm and how I can't see David Goggins, I'm
Yes.
going to switch into one of our other topics we always discuss on this show, which is AI, Gen AI. How do you use it in your everyday life? Do you use it? What are your thoughts on
Um, so I like AI.
it?
I am also scared of AI.
Okay, so what do you like about it and what part are you scared about?
So I like AI because it makes part of my job easier in using it. I do use AI, right?
Hmm.
Um, I
What do
have
you
to write.
use and how?
So I use Chat GPT.
Okay.
Um, and every so often, so it's twofold for me. So one, when I'm in my job and I can't think of the right wording that I want to put, I will
Hmm.
put the gist of it into Chat GPT and let it write it for me.
Okay.
Whether it be an email, whether it be something for event promotions, whether it be a marketing piece, whatever case may be.
Hmm.
Um, and sometimes I'll take it as is. Sometimes I'll wordsmith it to
Hmm.
be more in line with exactly what I need.
Okay.
At the
Yep.
same
That is
time,
a common use. Yes.
yes, at the same time, I'm also looking for a new job.
Hmm.
And so as I'm moving forward in my career and looking for the next step, um, while I do not use AI to write my resume,
Hmm.
I might use it to read my resume and answer a question that the application is requesting.
Okay.
I might use it to write my cover letter if I want to revise it, or to write a thank you note that I send out to whoever I just interviewed with. Because, yes, thank you notes are still a thing, even if you send them via email as opposed to mailing them out.
Hmm.
Um,
Let's just drop that in there for
yes,
everyone to know.
yes. Um, and so I do use it for various things. And I will tell you that I started using it for questions because anyone who's a current job seeker and coming across a lot of these
Hmm.
applications are asking for so much more information than what they need to determine if you're a good candidate.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
they're actually asking interview questions on the application. Where I feel like if you really want the answer for it, if you want me to put time and energy into
Hmm.
answering this question, you should schedule an in-person interview with me and let's have a conversation around it. Because what I
Hmm.
write won't fully answer the question for you. So rather than spending my time, energy, and effort crafting
Hmm.
this well-written response, I put the question into Chat GPT, which now also allows you to supply attachments.
Hmm.
And I say, based on the attached resume, write a response for the following question. And it does.
Okay.
And yeah. Now,
Okay.
and at the same time, though,
You said you're afraid of AI.
AI scares me because
Hmm.
um, it, one, I find it to not be accurate or relevant around certain topics.
Okay. All right.
Two, and I'll expand on that in a second, but two,
Okay.
also because eventually AI really is going to take the place of humans in the work that it is doing. So,
You
like,
really do believe that.
I
You really
do.
do.
I,
Okay.
part of my career has been in
Mhm.
marketing,
Yes.
right? Marketing a lot of times involves copywriting for various different elements.
Hmm.
Well, why would I need a copywriter if I can put it all into an online system and it'll generate what I need and make it different from every other company's marketing material?
Okay.
So, and I say that from my perspective uh,
Hmm.
of working in that field. Now, do I think that in that perspective would it ever take the place of a doctor? No. But
Okay.
at the same time, AI is
Hmm.
artificial intelligence, which also includes robotics.
Yes.
And they are trying to create robots to do everything for us at this point. You know, restaurants now have robots serving meals where they no longer need wait staff.
Have you
So,
ever been to a restaurant where there was a robot?
yes, but I was doing to go, and that's how I found out that the restaurant had it. I picked up my food to go. I called it in. I went to do
Hmm.
pickup. I walked in and I was greeted by a robot.
Okay. Okay. This was, I'm not going to say where you live. We're not going to talk about location. But what I will ask is, was this in the vicinity of your location, or was this in a place
Yes.
far, far away?
No, this was about a mile away from my home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. So I walked in, I was greeted by a robot, and I saw other little robots moving around with, food that they were delivering to tables. And then eventually a person came up who was the
Hmm.
actual hostess and, assisted me with getting my order. But
Oh my
and I'll say
goodness.
this is a newer restaurant in the area that I'm in.
Hmm.
It opened in either 2021 or 2022
Hmm.
and completely started out with these robots.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So, sidebar, you're going to have to tell me about this place so that I could figure out at some point how I can get to it, because I would like to see this in real life.
Yeah, no, I will gladly tell you, and I think you would actually enjoy the food as well.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. All right. Okay. So, last subject.
Hmm.
Here we go. So, we either have you talk about a news and event item of the week that stood out to you, or you can drop some celebrity gossip you want to talk about.
Okay, so oh, this was a tough one to pick between because
Okay.
sometimes
Okay.
sometimes I'm heavily into celebrity gossip,
Uh huh.
but after having lived in a very entertainment thriving area of this country,
Uh huh. Okay.
and getting to meet people and having conversations with people, I've learned that
Hmm.
gossip really is not. It's gossip. Just because it's being said doesn't make it true.
Okay. However, it was being said for a long time that J Lo and Ben were going to get a divorce,
I
and
mean, here's the thing. That's not celebrity gossip. That is writing on the wall. That is writing on the wall. They've never been able to make it work. Like this wasn't news. This was what their third time being together, but their first time getting married or something. Whatever. The writing was on the wall. We knew that this was not going to last. We knew that. That's not
okay. So
even.
let's go for it a news event, because you're very clear on that piece of celebrity gossip.
Yeah. Like, I don't even know why people try to make it seem like this should be news that we're discussing or as if they're shocked. Like, no, that just is what it is.
Okay.
Though it was funny because I was at the gym yesterday and the celebrity
Hmm.
gossip that I heard there was that while Tamar said that her and her boyfriend broke up,
Mm-hmm.
they've been seen on vacation this past weekend
Mm.
at a destination. I forget what the destination was, but
Uh-huh.
the tea on it basically was that the girl who said it at the gym, her
Mm-hmm.
best friend is on vacation in this exact same place. Saw,
Oh.
saw them, took pictures with them,
Mm-hmm.
and took pictures of them as well out there canoodling, cuddled up in public with all the PDA and stuff. But just last week, she said they broke up. And it probably wasn't last week. It was probably, I don't know how long ago. I don't really pay attention to Tamar. Uh,
Okay, yes. For our audience, Tamar Braxton is who we're talking about.
yes.
Um, okay. But
Now,
celebrities are like just celebrities are human.
they
It's
are.
interesting to kind of have these conversations, right? It's fun and tongue in cheek, and for the podcast, that's what we like to do. But at the end of the day, when people are together, they break up and get back together and break up and get back together. So
They do.
why wouldn't it be the same,
Yes.
right?
Exactly. Exactly. They're doing what everyday people do.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Now, here is my
Yes.
mix of news and celebrity gossip.
Okay. Okay.
So, the DNC was this past week.
Yes. Yes. Okay. We're going
For
political.
the
We're
for
going
those who don't
political.
know, well, we are, but we aren't. For those who don't know,
Yes.
it's the Democratic National Convention,
Okay.
where our current VP Kamala Harris was invited and accepted to be the Democratic presidential nomination for our upcoming election.
Yes.
Well, on day 4,
Hmm.
TMZ reported that Beyonce was going to be there and perform.
Yes. And
Beyonce
she
was
didn't.
not there.
She did not show up.
It's no, we can't say she didn't show up. The truth is that
Okay.
TMZ falsely reported this news. And
What?
and they have issued an apology for falsely reporting news, which is a big thing because everybody says if TMZ says it, it is true.
I know. That's the thing.
TMZ
I've
does
been saying
not,
that since Michael Jackson died.
yes, everybody says TMZ does not report false news, fake news, inaccurate news, that they are accurate about everything, right? They had to issue an apology on Friday. And the apology basically
Wow.
said it wasn't that Beyonce didn't show up, it's that TMZ inaccurately reported the news.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. I
Yes.
didn't even read the apology. I didn't know that. I did see supposedly she was going to show up and then she didn't. I didn't know that they actually had to post a retraction and then say
Yes.
that they falsely reported it. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
It is crazy. And I mean, I saw it on Instagram.
Hmm.
I know the kids are on TikTok and stuff. I
I'm
haven't
sure it was on TikTok too.
exactly. I'm sure it was on TikTok and it was probably more than just words. I mean, more than printed words. It was probably actual like verbalized words. But
Hmm.
but yeah. So intersection between like news and celebrity gossip, right? I thought that that was very, very interesting.
Really? So they
Yes,
totally inaccurately reported it, Nikki. Wow.
yes, yes. And here's the thing: I'm like, I could have just gone with the news that we all know, which is about the DNC.
Hmm.
But my goal is to not get too political
Hmm.
in this conversation, right? I have
Hmm.
my views. Other people have
Hmm.
their views.
Hmm.
Your view is your view. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it wrong. It makes it personal.
Yes. And
Therefore,
on that note, I'm going to say it makes it American. And that's why democracy is so important and the fact that people can have differing views when it comes to things like this.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yes, choosing not to have any political discussions, even though that was like the news of the week, everything that was happening every day.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. For sure.
So,
Wow.
yes.
Wow. Oh, well, Nikki, thank you so much for your time today. Audience, thank you again for listening to another episode of Miscellaneous Candor, frank, honest, and otherwise unspoken. Thanks so much and have a wonderful week.